he wound up dying. So now, when Pharaoh had a dream, and the most compelling part about the dream is that it startled Pharaoh. It scared Pharaoh because Pharaoh did not quite understand the dream. And Pharaoh was shaken because of the dream. And so when Pharaoh was shaken because of the dream, Pharaoh went to his people, and I want us to understand that. Pharaoh went to his people to try to get an interpretation of the dream that was given to him. Pharaoh was trying to interpret a dream that was given to him by the Most High. And see, sometimes sometimes we think the worldly people of the world sometimes be given a dream, but they may not be able to understand the dream, so they got to go to somebody who is spiritually connected to the Most High to be able to understand the dream. See, everybody can't give you an interpretation of your dream because they don't have the right connection to the Most High to be able to give you the dream, because the Most High sometimes have already given other people dreams so that they could be able to interpret the dream for you. See, some people don't have a connection with the Most High the way you may have a connection with the Most High. So because your connection with the Most High is different than others, they're not going to be able to understand what's going on until they talk to somebody like you. So Joseph was called up to Pharaoh's house, or to the palace. And he called up to Pharaoh's house, to the palace, so that he could be able to interpret the dream, because the cupbearer had told Pharaoh that, hey, I remember this guy in jail with me, and he interpreted my dreams, and he interpreted the other guy's dreams. So what happened is the guy's dream came true, he died, and here I am sitting beside you. I'm right here sitting beside you, being the cupbearer for you. So what happened is Pharaoh said, okay, go get this guy. Go get Joseph. So that we can understand, so that he can interpret the dream. So that he could be able to interpret the dream. Okay? So now let us go to verse 14 in the book of let us go to 14 in the book of Genesis chapter 41. I gave you a little small synopsis of it. See, Joseph had to go through everything that he went through so that he could be at the point that he's at right now. He had to be able to interpret the dreams for the people so they could be able to go back and testify, give their testimony to the Pharaoh, so that Pharaoh could be able to grab Joseph and bring him up there with him, so that Joseph can be able to interpret the dream for Pharaoh. So people's testimony is very good. And your testimony is good because it helps solidify or make known your experience to other people, and so they can lean up on it as well. But let us go to Genesis 41 and 14. And it reads, then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself and cleaned and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret. But let me go back for a second. I want to tell you today that today is a teachings on warnings. It is a teachings on warnings. It is a teaching that it has already been prophesied by the prophets. It has been prophesied to the people. They had received a dream from the Most High, and they were sent out to tell the people that about their dream. And when they had a dream, they sent it out to the people so that the people can save themselves as well as the prophet saving himself. So this is a warning about what's to come. This is not a feel-good sermon today. This is not whatever. It is a sermon or teachings about warnings. Okay? So now let us go back to Genesis 41 and 15. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. Because he was talking to the wrong people. And I have heard say of thee that thou can understand a dream to interpret it. And listen to what Joseph said. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. El shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph in my dream, Behold, I stood upon the brink of the river. And behold, there came up out of the river seven kine or cows, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in a meadow. It's saying right now it was talking about a condition. No, it's talking about the conditions and times of the kind. When you hear it say fat-fleshed and well-favored, that means that they was living in good conditions. Whatever they was going through, it was very good. It was very good. These cows was living good. They was fat and they was well-favored. Okay? Then in verse 19 it says, And behold, 7 other kind came up after them, poor and very ill-favored and lean-fleshed. Listen to this. Such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. These seven very ill and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in the land of Egypt for badness. He was saying, man, I never seen these cows before ever. I don't care how bad it got in Egypt. The people never lived like this. The cows never was this bone and skinny ever in life. So what he is saying, in this condition, that these people or these cows was in a horrible condition. It was terrible. Okay? Verse 20. And the lean and the ill-favored kind did eat of the first 7 fat kind. Listen to this. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them. Meaning that their conditions did not change. But they were still ill-favored as at the beginning, so I awoke. He said, man, this scared me so bad. He said that these kinds of these cows ate up all the food that the 7 cows had for the 7 years, and they still looked at horrible. They looked at bad. He said their conditions did not change. Okay, now let's go to verse 22, and it says, I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered, thin and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. Listen to this. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. Talking about time now. And I told this unto the musicians, but there is none that could declare it unto me. So he told Joseph the dream, and Joseph, the Pharaoh said, man, I cannot get nobody to interpret this dream for me. I need you, Joseph, to interpret the dream. Because this was a horrific experience. He said, because you got 7 cows that was living good and well. Then you got to turn around, you got 7 cows that was living horrible. Then you got 7 ears of corn that was good, and then they grew for 7 years. And then he said, you got corn that didn't grow for 7 years. He's like, man, what's going on with this, Joseph? I need your help. Let's go to verse 25. Because this started the leaders of Egypt. It started him. I want us to also understand that Egypt also means bondage. Egypt also means the U.S. Or Egypt also means the G7 communities. Look up who the G7 is. And when you look up the G7s, and then look at the conditions of their land, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So in Genesis 41 and 25, and Joseph said unto Pharaoh, and we're talking about when people are giving a prophecy, it's also a warning or a blessing. Prophecies are warnings or blessings of what's to come. And see, I gave these warnings 4 years ago. Didn't I, baby? I didn't hear you. Didn't I, baby?
Yes.
And if you've been listening to me for any length of time, you'll understand that I've been giving this warning for a long period of time. My warnings came through the Most High. I don't take any credit for it. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is, El has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. So it's a warning. A warning. So the Most High is getting ready to show Pharaoh what he is about to do in the land of Egypt. Okay, so let's go to Isaiah so we can get a better understanding of it. Let's go to Isaiah 41. Isaiah 41, 22 and 23 in the verse. It says, let's go to 21. It says, produce your cause, said Yahuwah. Bring forth your strong reasons, says the King of Jacob. Then it reads, let them bring them forth and show us what shall happen. And show us what shall happen. Let them show the former things what they be, that we may know, that we may consider them, and know the latter end of them, or declare us things for what's to come. It says, show the things that are to come hereafter, that we may know that ye are gods. Yea, do good or do evil, that we may be dismayed and behold it together. He said, show what was happening in the past and what's going to happen in the future. So this is a forewarning. This is a forewarning because he was asking a question. What's going to happen in the past and what's going to happen in the future? Let's go to Daniel. Daniel 2. Because I want us to be able to understand that prophecies have always been spoken. Prophecies have always been spoken to the people, to the prophets, so that the prophets can put out what was spoken. Daniel 2 and 28. Daniel 2 and 28 and 29. when I drink this tea, it brings up the mucus because of me drinking it. The phlegm that's in my chest. And it reads, but there is a God, there is an El in heaven that revealeth secrets and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Listen to that. Have heaven that reveals secrets and maketh known to King Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and thy visions of thy head upon thy beds are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed. This is the same thing that happened to Pharaoh. His thoughts was in his mind, in his head, in his bed. What shall come to pass hereafter? And he that revealeth secrets make known to thee what shall come to pass. So, King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream what was about to come to the future. King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream on what was about to come to him in the future. But he had to get somebody to interpret his dream for him so that he could understand. So dreams are warnings. Dreams are prophecies. Okay? So let us go to Matthew. Matthew's 24 and 40. Listen to this. 39. And knew not until the flood came, talking about Noah, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. Talking about the conditions, what will happen in the latter times. One will be killed and one will be left. One would be dead, one would die, and one would live. So these are biblical prophecies of warnings of what will come to pass in the future. So Joseph was giving. I may not need to drink none of that tea before sermon no more. So Joseph was giving the Pharaoh a warning.
You got it too spicy.
Joseph, I know, it got me going. I'm glad, but it had me going.
That cayenne pepper.
Yeah. So Joseph was giving a warning to the king, the Pharaoh, about what was getting ready to happen, what was going on. Joseph was giving this warning to Pharaoh. Okay? And Pharaoh, he didn't quite understand it. So Pharaoh's like, man, and Joseph understood the dream. Joseph understood what was taking place. Joseph understood everything that was going on and that was going to happen. Because he received the prophecy, he understood the dream, he was able to interpret it. So he gave a warning to Pharaoh. Let's go down to verse 29 in Genesis chapter 41. Let's go back to Genesis 41 and 29. Because you're going to always receive a warning before things happen. You're going to always receive a warning beforehand. You're going to always receive that. Okay? In Genesis 41 and 29 it said, behold, now Joseph finna interpret the dreams for Pharaoh. It says, behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. Listen to that. He's telling them. He's interpreting dreams. He first get ready to let you know what's getting ready to take place through the dream. He says, behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. He's talking about the conditions that will happen within Egypt. He's telling you it's going to be 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine. Okay? Verse 31, it says, and the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following. He said that you will not even recognize Egypt no more because the famine is going to be so bad. You will not even recognize Egypt. You will not even recognize it. Because the famine is going to be so bad. You won't even recognize it. That's what Joseph's saying. You will not even recognize it. You will not even recognize it because it's going to be so bad in Egypt. Let's go to verse let's go to verse 31. I'm trying to find a verse because most I put something in my head. I want to find that verse. Verse 31, it says, and the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following. And it shall be very grievous. Grievous. Meaning that dangerous. Hard times. Bad. It's going to be so bad in the land of Egypt, it's going to be dangerous. Because the famine is going to be so horrible, it's going to make people just be in desperate states. I want you to hear that. It's going to be so bad that it's going to make people be in desperate states. It's going to be dangerous. It's going to be dangerous. Because he's giving you the warning, now he's telling you the conditions of the state of Egypt. And the state of Egypt going to be dangerous because of the famine that's going to be in the land. Let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah 24 and 40. Isaiah 24 and 20, I'm sorry. Let's go to 19 first. It's going to be dangerous. He's telling Pharaoh, I'm giving you this warning, I'm giving you this prophecy. What's getting ready to happen in your land? You had 7 years of plenty, and then you're going to have 7 years of famine. And during those 7 years of famine, it's going to be very dangerous during that time period. And I want you to understand that, Pharaoh. In Isaiah 24 and 19 and 20 says, the earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean to dissolve. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Yahuwah shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. See, this famine is getting ready to come that's going to hit the G7 countries. It's coming for the king because how the kings did the people. But the people going to have to suffer during the midst of it because the simple fact is they allowed the kings to do what they did. Okay? Let's go to Psalms 37 and 36. See, we all got a hand in this mess because, oh, we got to have a king. We got to have a king and we want to be like all the other nations. That's how Saul got in. And what Saul do? He jacked stuff up. So now the kings of the earth are jacking stuff up. So 37 and 36 verse in Psalms. Let's go to 35 first. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree. That means the wickedness of the earth was just going all over the place. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. These people in these great countries will never be found again upon the earth. That's how dangerous it's going to be. That's how bad it's going to be. All these nations, these G7 nations, who used to be on top and who used to be this way and who used to be that way, because this great famine that's going to hit the land, it's going to hit G7 countries. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be grievous. And it's going to be grievous because of what they did in the past. Canada, look what Canada did. Look what the US did. Look what Europe did. Look at what all these countries did. Look what Rome did. Look at all these countries. Look what they did to the people. And see, we got to understand that all this stuff started happening in November of 2019, right after the 400 years mark. He said it's going to be pestilence. It's going to be famine. Pestilence is the disease. Famine is the food. And war is what's going over there with Russia and Ukraine right now. Earthquakes may be from La Palma. Tsunamis may be from La Palma. Because that earthquake was predicted in 2014 if the volcano erupts. The tsunami may hit the East Coast if that La Palma earthquake volcano keep erupting. So all these things are taking place at this time. So it's going to be some very dangerous time because the earth is going to be so unsettled because of it's going through its punishment. It's going through its process. So yeah, Joseph is telling people it's going to be some hard times that's getting ready to come. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 41. Verse 32. No, let's go to Revelation. I'm sorry. Let's go to Revelation 18 and 21. And see, people are still acting crazy during this moment. People are still being selfish. People are still being self-centered. People are still chasing money. People are still chasing all these worldly things instead of trying to get their life right. People are still acting crazy instead of trying to get their life right. In Revelation 18 and 21 it reads, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, shall be found no more at all. Listen what the angels did in verse 42 and 22. And the voice of the harpers and the musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. No craftsman of whatsoever craft he shall be found no more in thee. And the sound of millstones shall be heard no more at all in thee. That means that because of this dangerous time, there's no work shall be. And I want y'all to understand what's going on. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 41, verse 32. I gotta kind of hurry up because I got some stuff I gotta read. In verse 32, and it reads, and for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by El. Means it's going to happen. It is created by El, by the Most High. It is established by the Most High, and El, or the Most High, will shortly bring it to pass. And El will shortly bring it to pass, meaning that they ain't have much time left. And see, when I was in the bed, when I went to sleep, when I took my nap, I was like, man, you ain't speaking to me. I can't sleep. I can't do no lesson without you speaking to me. So I went and took a 30-minute nap, and that's when he gave me what he gave me. And I'm saying to myself, okay, now I can work. But we ain't got number, they ain't had nothing but a short time to prepare for what's getting ready to happen. Verse 33, and now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man decree and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7th plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years and that comes, and lay up corn under the hands of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the city. And that food shall be for store in the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, the G7s, that the land perish not through the famine. Okay. Joseph gave the dream, gave the warning. He told you it was going to be dangerous times. But he also said you got a little bit of time to spare. You better start preparing. You better start gathering. You better start gathering what's in front of you. Whatever you can buy, whatever you can put your hands on, if you can afford to get it, if you can grow it, you better start growing it. You better start doing what you're supposed to do, because if you don't, you're going to wind up dying. Let's go to Proverbs 10 and 5. But I want to get to my articles in a minute. Proverbs 10 and 5. Listen to this. Proverbs 10 and 5. See, people don't think that things gonna happen, so they ain't preparing for it. But Joseph charged those people who came to him during the famine, because that's how the other children of Israel got into Egypt, because he was going to charge them for the food that he was going to give them. He wasn't just handing nothing out, because it affects Egypt if you just hand food out and give it away for free. Joseph charged the people. Proverbs 10 and 5. He that gathers in summer is a wise son, But he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. Let me read that over. He that gathers in summer is a wise son. But he that sleeps in harvest is a son that causes shame. Let's go to Proverbs 30 and 25. The ants are a people. Proverbs 30 and 25. Proverbs 30 and 25. The ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. The summer means the harvest time, the good season. The harvest times, the good seasons. But I'm going to stop reading the text for a second, but let me go to some stuff. I'm going to read you a couple of articles. I'm going to read you the title of the article. I may read you a little bit of it. Okay? But I want to go to a couple of articles. This was written on October 28th, 2021. Listen to it. A record number of cargo vessels wait off the Southern California coast. Okay? A record number of cargo vessels wait off the Southern California coast. It's in the MFAME. The website is MFAME. The title is A Record Number of Cargo Vessels Wait Off the Southern California Coast. I'm going to read you a little bit. Supply chains woe. A means a record number of cargo vessels wait off the Southern California coast. Pandemic-inspired shippings, sprees, and supply chain issues have led to a record backlog of ships stacking up off the coast of California. I just put that in there. The backup at the ports, however, reflect a bigger issue that extends through the entire supply chain. Listen, touching everything from warehouse space to rails and truck efficiencies. Let me read you something else. I went down a little bit. The cargo flood. After the pandemic almost shuttered ship arrivals during the spring of 2020 at the port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, because they was considered to be they are considered to be the first and second largest ship ports in the United States. Then it says, vigorously demand of goods has kept the ports packed with waiting ships since July 2020. It shows no sign of letting up. In August, some 90% of incoming cargo traffic headed for ports wound up, parked off the coast of Southern California, sitting outside the harbor for at least as long as a week before being processed. Listen to this. The cargo flood is expected to continue well into 2022, with perhaps a brief slowdown just after the first of the year, when the Chinese New Year is celebrated and the flow of goods typically ease up for a few weeks. They saying that these ships that's on the coast of California, and it's not just California, we have 7 major or 8 major ports. California have 2, one in Los Angeles and one in Long Beach. We have 2 in New Jersey and New York. We have 1 in Savannah. We have 2 in Tacoma and Seattle. We have 1 in Vancouver. We have 1 in Virginia, and we have 1 in Houston. Those are the major ports. And you have at least 70 to 100 ships on each coast, on each major ports waiting to get in. Okay? Let's go to another article. Okay, this article is from ABC News. This article is in ABC News. It came out October the 15th, 2021. What's causing America massive supply chain disruption? And I'm going to go down to this part right here. Not enough warehouse workers and truck drivers. But it's also not telling you because 4.3 is going, okay, I'm finna read it. Okay, they say warehouse workers and truck drivers. Okay, now listen to this. Economists believe that there are several factors contributing to the supply chain shortage, including a growing number of workers quitting jobs key to keeping things running smoothly. This is it. Listen to this. A record 4.3 million Americans quit their jobs in August, the most since the Department of Labor started tracking this data in 2000. You have a bunch of sectors that just pay minimum wage, and labor is just going to veer over to where it finds the most profit. The Labor Department in July reported that the warehouse industry had a record of 490,000 jobs openings. Companies such as Walmart, Target, and Amazon are going to great length to attract warehouse workers with attractive benefits, including free college tuitions. But a lot of those workers are quitting work because they don't want to be forced to do something with their bodies that they don't want to do. Okay? With the growing inflation jittery, many large retailers and employers are increasing their wages to keep up with rising prices, intensifying the competition among companies to make their most compelling job offers amends the pre-holiday rush to hire workers. Listen to this. The American Trucking Association in 2019 estimated that it would be short some 60,000 drivers. They already short by 60 to 70. The trucking industry already short 60 to 70,000 workers as of January. But now, if they enforce the policies that is being pushed, it's gonna double that amount. Okay, so let me read. It says, but those shortages have increased due to the retirement, new truck drivers needing to be trained due to the vaccine or due to the process. There is a shortage of drivers, and it is one of several issues contributing to problems in overall supply chain. However, it is a reflection of the strong demand for goods, and everything consumers buy is delivered in a truck. At the same time, economists say large employers are preparing to bring their staff back to work in large numbers, had held to large purchase of bulk-ish items. So, also you got issues at the port, but then you got people quitting their jobs. All these jobs is available because they don't want to be forced to do something. That's also causing issues. Okay, let me say something. Let me read you something else. The Washington Post. It was wrote. Let me see when I can find the date. You can, when I give dates, I give those dates so that you can go back and look up the article. I can't find the date. Let me see something. I'm just going to read you a little small paragraph. The Washington Post. This article, don't give me a date. It says, here's why your food prices keep going up. Expect to see higher prices in the last quarter of this year in a number of grocery stores. After that, some relief is likely, experts say. Okay, it was wrote September 15th, 2021. Okay, I'm just going to read one or two paragraphs. It says, before the pandemic, most people may have thought much about where their food came from, how far it travels, or how it is prepared. Certain industry phases have underscored rising grocery prices over the past 18 months. We're in unprecedented time, but one of the biggest is the supply chain disruption. Food producers are struggling with shortages, bottleneck in transportation, weather and labor woes, all of which have caused food prices to rise. Inflation at the wholesale level climbed 8.3% last month. From August 2020, the Labor Department reported Friday the biggest annual gain since the department started calculating the number in 2020. Those prices are passed on to the consumer. Meat, poultry, fish, and eggs are up 5.9% over last year and up 15.7% from prices in August 2019, before the pandemic. Okay? I'm not going to go on much on it because now you're looking at a price hike because of shortage. And the shortage is because of no employees and all the other issues. And now you got all this food out here in the water. We have to understand that America import probably 60 to 7% of the products that come into the United States. And only export maybe 30%. And it only grows at least maybe 45% of its food here in America. We're depending on outside sources for our products more than anything. So when this comes up, how are we expected to survive? Let me see if I can find something. This is funny here. Because, okay, New York Post, October the 30th, 2021. Listen to this. This is the title of it. Retailers turn to bizarre tactics to cover up empty shelves as supply chain crisis worsens. They're trying to do whatever they could possibly do to show you that there's no supply issues, but in actuality, it is. This came out October the 22nd, 2021. Let me read you a little bit. Okay, listen to this. It says, retailers in the U.S. are resorting to bizarre methods to conceal increasingly bare shelves brought on by the supply chain crisis. See, they're talking about what happening. They saying it's a physical supply chain crisis, but it's the Most High actually judging the G7 nations for what they did to the people. Okay, it says shoppers have flooded social media with images of bare shelves at supermarkets and department stores in recent weeks as Empty Shelves Joe. You can do hashtag Empty Shelves Joe. Hashtag Empty Shelves Joe. It is trending on Twitter. Okay, look that up and see what you see. Because I have had conversations with some of my co-workers, and they say in their town where they're from, they don't have no food in the grocery store. I talked to my human resource lady the other day. She said the shelves been kind of bad as she can recognize. Because as the situation workers, stores have attempted to literally cover up their shelves. This is an attempt. They know what's happening. As the situation worsens, stores have attempted to literally cover up shelves. One video post to social media shows numerous rows of colorful folding lawn chairs set up a long empty shelf in a department store. That means that they had a row of empty folding chairs stacked up as if they're trying to cover up the shelves as displays. But there was no food on that whole row. Okay? It said, I wish I could show you a picture, but I can't. But I'm just going on to say that. Let me see something. I'm just going on to say that. Okay, it says another debunked viral image post online early this week showed there appears to be a sheet with grocery printed on one side concealing bare shelves on the other side. This is horrible. They're doing everything they possibly can show you that the stores are not going bad. But the stores are going bad because of the simple fact that you got at least 70 to 100 vessels that's at the 7 major ports around the world, around the U.S. And then I was listening to this news this week. She said right now, this is California. They said right now we have California that's got 100 vessels out there, probably containing 200,000 to 300,000 container ships on them. They said, but in the next 2 weeks, it's going to be another 28 to 30 ships arrive. So that's another 28 to 30 ships that's going to be out there on the coast of California waiting to get unloaded. And all this stuff got product in it that we depend on as import scarcity or food. But I want to go back to Genesis because I want to deal with the main topic. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 41. Because your salvation, your deliverance, your hope, your salvation is in chapter 41 and verse 35 and 36. Your hope, your salvation is in 35 and 36. Because that's what it's all about, salvation, your deliverance. Verse 35 and 36, and it says in Genesis chapter 41, let them gather all the food of those good years that come and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the city. And that food shall be for the store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, and that land perish not through the famine. So how you shall not perish not through the famine? One of the main things that you need to buy and you need to have is water. We're not in Egypt now, but we're in Egypt now. You need to calculate how many people in your family, how many people live in your household. You need to calculate 3 times. If you have 3 people in your family and you understand that you got 3 people in your family, you need to have one of these for each person to drink 3 times a day. So you're going to need to have at least 9 bottles of water for your family to drink water per day. So if you got 3 people in your family and you're going to drink 3 bottles of water a day, that's going to be 9 bottles. And then you multiply 9 times 30. That is 270 bottles of water just for drinking if you're going to get water. That's not including bathing. That's not including cooking. That's not including anything else. So if you got 3 bottles per person per day. That's 27. That's 9 bottles a day, and 9 times 30 is 270 bottles. That's just for you drinking. That's not if you're gonna cook food. That is including if you're gonna bathe yourself. Okay? Cause you can't go without water for 3 days. Okay? Rice. Non-perishable, meaning it will never go bad if you keep the seal on top of it. Most people say white rice lasts longer than brown rice. They say that brown rice lasts 5 years and white rice lasts a whole lot longer. So the amount of water that you're going to need to cook the rice with, you're going to have to multiply it so that you know that you're purchasing the right amount of water. That's why I told you 2-3 weeks ago, you need to get garbage cans and put plastic bags in those garbage cans and fill them up with water. And when it's time for you to use them, you boil the water to kill all the bacteria out of it, and you use it. Okay? You need rice. Okay? You need canned goods. You need canned goods, preferably with the cap that you can pull off, so that you won't have to have a can opener. You're going to need canned goods to be able to sustain you. You're going to need to multiply. If you got 3 people in your household and they're going to eat, you got to realize how many times we're going to eat a day. Okay, and once you understand how many times you're going to eat a day, you're going to rather know if you need 1 or 2 canned goods per day to feed your family. That's what you're going to have to calculate and understand with canned goods. Don't worry about the expiration date. You get the canned goods. Beans. Non-perishable item. You need to calculate, because of these have to soak in water for a few minutes. You're going to need to calculate how much water you're going to need to soak your beans so that you can be able to cook with your rice. Because you got your protein and your starch. So you're going to need beans to help nourish your body. So you're going to have to make sure that you have water. So you have water, you got beans, you got rice, you got beans, you got canned goods. Okay? Candles. See, when people in Texas went bad last year, I don't know how many candles they had. I don't know how they used them, but you can use candles for light. You can also use them for heat. For whatever room you're in, you can use that candle to light up a room or heat up a room. Okay? You got to have this. You got to have fire. You got to have fire to start the candles. You got to have fire to start the food. You got to have fire to start everything. You got to have that fire. Wet wipes are very good for personal issue sections. It helps bathe, it helps cleanse you. You can get wet wipes. Okay? Pain pills, reliever, any type of medication that you're on. You need to make sure you have at least 2 to 3 months of medication in your house. If you're taking vitamins, you need to make sure you have vitamins in your house. Whatever you have, you need that. Any type of medication Any type of antibiotics you can get your hands on, you need to get your hands on. Or you need to go buy a lot of herbal medications like black seed oil, elderberry, oregano oil, colonel silver. All those things like that you need to have in your medicine cabinet. Okay? Batteries. Batteries for things that you may need. For flashlights. For whatever you have that goes by batteries, you might need to have some batteries. Don't sit here and wait on somebody to give you some batteries when you can go out and get some batteries. You need batteries for whatever you have in your household that runs by batteries. And don't just go get one pack. Okay. I got these hand warmers. I use these at work when it's cold. When you're sleeping, one of the things that people don't think about. Yeah, they say, I'm going to get me some candles, I'm going to get me this, and go get me that, go get me this. But then I'm going to think about, okay, if it's cold, how am I going to keep myself warm? If it's cold, how am I going to keep myself warm? How am I going to keep myself warm? One of the things that you can do to keep yourself warm is by hand warmers. Because you can put these in your feet, you can also put them in your gloves. Your feet and your feet and your hands is where the heat exit from. But if you put hand warmers in your feet and hand warmers in your gloves, that is a way to keep your body warm. Because the most important thing is when people are cold, ooh, my hand cold, ooh, my feet cold. Those are some of the things that get cold first. So if you can buy you some hand warmers, it'll protect you from getting too cold so fast. You can even put it in your sleeping bag or you can put it in your bed. Okay? These are just Band-Aids. You gotta have a first aid kit. You gotta have a first aid kit. If you got a first aid kit, you gotta, because you may be doing something and cut your hand. And if you're doing something and cut your hand, if you don't have no Band-Aids, no antibiotics, you don't have nothing to clean that cut, a wound, or whatever, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to really be in trouble. Also, the last one, lint. Lint and fabric softeners.
Fabric softener sheets.
Fabric softener sheets.
Reuse them, recycle.
Go ahead and say it.
No, the recycle. When you take it out the dryer.
Okay, say it loud. Okay, fabric softener sheets. Once we use these a couple of times, we'll recycle them and put them in the bag. Why? Because we want to make sure that these things are, if we have to be outside on our grill and we got to start a fire because we don't have no lighter fluid, we can use lint and fabric softener sheets to quickly start a fire. Okay? And lastly, I hope you see that. I hope y'all understand what this is. Because you can't just think you don't need this to protect yourself. Because you're going to need this to protect yourself. You're not supposed to kill anybody. But you have to protect, you have the right to protect yourself and your family. Because he's telling you, and let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hands of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the city. They weren't worried about the weapons because they had the weapons, they had armies. So when you looking at this whole scenario, or when you looking at this incident with Joseph, he's telling us the days of famine is coming. We see it. The writing is on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why. I know why now the Most High was adamant about me doing this and adamant about me doing that. I don't have no choice but to do what he tell me to do. Now, I've been talking like this through the Most High because I give him the credit for almost 4 years. And I'm saying to you now, I hope those who really have taken heed to my word, you're not worried because you're already kind of straight. I know some of the people who listen to me, they grew gardens. And they put it on Facebook and it was great. But those who haven't listened to me or listened to the Most High through me, you ain't got nothing but a little short time to get yourself together. Because I tell people, when we was doing things in my backyard, I tell people, I said, don't let your burden be somebody else's burden. And I'm closing with this. Don't let your burdens be somebody else's burdens when you could have eliminated your burdens. See, how the children of Israel got into Egypt is because they went into Egypt to buy corn because they was famine. Their burden became somebody else's burdens. So they had to go out there and find some food to eat because they were hungry. Because they did not receive whatever was given to them. So that's how the children of Israel got into Egypt, because they had a burden that was on them, and what was on them was the famine in the land. So I'm going to conclude with this. The days of famine is coming. And it's time for you to gather while you can. The warning has been spoken. The conditions have been given. And the instructions have been told. So you don't have an excuse in your household not to prepare, not to gather, not to do something for your family. Because if you put that burden on somebody else, I'm not going to even say. But I pray that you don't. Okay? So that concludes the text for today. I thank you for listening, because this is something that you can't get back. It's time. You cannot get back time. You cannot get back that. So whoever listened to me or listened to the Most High through me, I thank you. I appreciate it. I hope these words these teachings are good for your spirit. I hope you take heed, and I hope you hear the transparency of me. I hope that you see that I am trying to do the will of the Most High. And this is not mine. And I just hope you take heed and do what he's saying do. Because that's where your salvation comes from. It's from his word. You got to put his word to action. I can't do it for you. When you ask for people to pray for you, no, you pray for yourself as well. You do for you. So that concludes the sermon. That concludes the teaching for today.
It's good. Reality. It's real.
This is a hard warning.
Yes, it's real.
It's a hard warning. It really is. And I just hope that people are paying attention to it. Because I did a video on how to filter water. I did a video on how to start a fire through a can. I did all of that.
You talked about the solar.
I talked about the solars. I did a lot of this stuff. I can do so much more. But when I offer my help out there to know about people, they don't even ask, or they don't Facebook me, they don't inbox me. So it ain't nothing else I can do but tell you. And if you listen, you listen. You don't, you don't. That's on you and your family. But let me conclude with a prayer, and then that was it. I thank you again for your time. Abba, as we come to you today, we thank you, we bless you. Abba, we praise you, we give you all the honor and the glory. Abba, as we look at the story of Joseph, as we look at the story of Joseph and his experiences in life and what he had to go through to be able to get to where he needed to be so that he can save people's life. Abba, we have all been through life-changing events and experiences because it was for your purpose and your glory. Everything that is done upon the earth is for your purpose and your glory, so that you can continue to be acknowledged because of your words that you spoke. So Abba, as we come to you today, we give you honor and glory. We ask that you continue to give us wisdom and knowledge and understanding of your word. We ask that you open our eyes so that we can see, ears that we can hear, and close our mouths so that we can listen. Abba, we ask that you let us take heed to your prophets, whether it be me or anyone else that's speaking to the people out there in the world, so that they can have salvation because of the prophets, because Joseph spoke and the people were saved. Because Abba, at the end of the day, it's all about your salvation. It's all about your glory. It is all about us making it to the new heavens and the new earth. We understand that we're human beings, and we're not going to be in the heavens where you are. We're going to be on this earth dwelling amongst the people of the fleshly body. So Abba, we ask that you strengthen us in this moment. Let us throw away the flesh and live in the spirit right now. Let us live in your word, because your word is spirit, which is life. So Abba, let us be able to take what little we have of money and use it to buy the food that we'll need if anything goes bad. Because we don't know what you're going to allow the Hashatan to do upon the earth through human beings. Because we do know that the Hashatan of Satan moves through the people. We don't know if La Palma is going to throw down a land of a whole bunch of land into the water and cause a tsunami. We don't know if you're just going to cut off the lights during the winter time. We don't know if you're going to stop the ships from coming to the coast. We don't know anything that you're going to be doing, Abba. We don't know, because you are in control. And we don't know your time nor day. But we ask that you help us prepare for whatever the crisis may be, physically and spiritually. Because we know that the time is short. We don't have much time to prepare for your will. You gave the Egyptians 7 years. But we don't know how many days or hours or weeks you may give us. We just ask that it be enough time to buy something for our family. We ask that you forgive our ancestors for the sins that they committed, knowingly and unknowingly. We ask that you forgive our children and our friends, and even forgive us for the sins that we have committed, or the transgressions that we've committed. Father, because we know that we operate in this fleshly world and we do things of the flesh. Our eyes can lead us to ways and temptations that we should not go. Our ears can do the same, Father. So we ask that you help us and forgive us for our sins. But Abba, we thank you for a sound mind and a healthy body. We thank you for just giving us the abilities to be able to do what you have called us to do. We thank you for giving us the abilities to be able to walk and be grateful for everything that you have given us. And in all these things we pray in Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Yahshua, Jesus, Lord, God, whatever you want to call him. In his name we pray, so let it be. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed one, and prepare. Not much time.
time left. Welcome to the end of time, where real love is hard to find. Losing focus, man lost in his own mind. All your thoughts is on your 9 to 5. How you gonna live? How you gonna eat? How you all gonna survive? What tomorrow gonna bring is real heavy. You better get prepared, yeah, you better be ready. Life is about to really change for me and you. Wisdom, knowledge, understanding, only thing that's gonna bring us through. Gather together, old nation, that's my desire. Before the Lord rain down with that mighty fire and burn down all the idols and all the liars, all abomination tossed in the lake of fire. I praise the higher for the power that he possess, that cleanse the earth and bring it back into its fullness. Faith without works, man, that's a holy mess, and you don't wanna have no parts in none of that. So clean your garments, put your breastplate on. Stand up on this battlefield hard and strong. Put no faith in no man stuck in the zone. Everything that he's done has turned out wrong. Abomination, genes, Tyson, yeah, producing clone. Praise the Most High that he never left us alone. Participate on the day when Christ take the throne and judge us all. You either stand or fall.